At the UFC 305 post-fight presser, Dricus Du Plessis absolutely humiliated Sean Strickland and pointed out the fact that Sean Strickland does not deserve the next crack at the middleweight title. And you know what's so funny about this? Is you have Sean Strickland so mentally broken by Dricus Du Plessis still 7 months after he took his title off of him, that Sean Strickland is crying about South African racism. That is how you know Sean Strickland is mentally broken. We're going to take a look at all the clips and what Sean Strickland had to say on Twitter. And we're also going to take a look at a massive hypocrisy in the MMA community, because it needs to be pointed out, and this is the perfect video to do it in. But also, I want to highlight a couple statements that Dricus made during his post-fight presser that we can all get behind and that we can all cheer for. Because I believe that guys like Dricus Du Plessis, and more recently, before this, Belal Muhammad, I believe they are saving their divisions in a way. Because what Dricus said at this post-fight presser is, look, he's not chasing after a double champ status. You know, where it's a win-win situation. Oh, I'll move up. I'll fight for a title. If I lose, I still have my title. He wants to prove himself by fighting the best guys. Whoever the UFC puts in front of me, I will knock down. Whoever the fans think is the best next guy, I will beat. And I will establish my legacy as one of the greatest middleweights of all time. And also, in this post-fight presser, and we're going to listen to all this, he shows Israel Adesanya respect. Obviously, it was nothing but respect after the fact. But the reason I want to show that as well is because, first off, this is how a champion should handle themselves. But second off, you have a lot of fans shitting on Israel Adesanya and acting like he was never good. And that only hurts Dricus Du Plessis. And Dricus is smart enough to realize, look, if you're putting Adesanya down, what does that say for my win over Adesanya, which was a phenomenal win at UFC 305? So if he's not good, then what does that say about me? So we're going to check all that out in this video. We're going to start off with him talking about Alex Pereira. And he absolutely, I said this before, Dricus Du Plessis is the best trash talker in the UFC. He absolutely destroyed Alex Pereira right here without even batting an eye and without even thinking about it. Destroyed him on multiple occasions here. It was crazy to watch because Alex Pereira tweeted out, I'm coming back down to 185. That was actually a jab at Israel Adesanya. He's not actually going to do it. But Dricus easily just already disarms the entire Pereira fan base with a few easy and quick statements right here during the post-fight presser. Let's listen.
Event. And last one for me, obviously, I know Dana White said that Sean Strickland deserves the next title shot, but I don't know if you saw that Alex Pereira posted that he wants to drop back down to middleweight too. He was sitting in front of like you getting the belt tonight. So I guess, what do you want next for your career?
Yeah, what I want next is whatever they give me. I have to be honest. You know.
By the way, I love that right off jump. He's not begging. Oh, I want a money fight. I want a money fight. Give me a money fight.
I honestly don't think Alex Pereira should drop down to 185. If he wants to, great, perfect. But then we're going to hear the excuses. I saw we saw Izzy stiff that man in the first round. I felt Izzy's punching power tonight. If that, Izzy has great timing. He's fast, he's long, and he has great combinations. But I felt the power. If Izzy stiffens you like that, you do not want to be in there with me. Especially.
So already destroyed him right there. Look, if Izzy's putting you out stiff as a board, what am I going to do to you? But that's not even the best part. Oh, this next line made me want to become the president of the Dricus Du Plessis fan club.
Especially not when you're going to come in there with the excuses, no, I cut too much weight. That's going to happen. Everybody's going to say that. So stay at 205, fight your fight against the number 7 ranked guy.
Number 8.
Oh, number 8. Okay, cool. Well, I mean.
I love that. I absolutely love that. I'm going to rewind it just so we can listen to that again. Listen to this. Listen to what he says. First off, he says, oh, he's going to make excuses if I KO him. His fans are going to make excuses. Oh, it's the weight cut. But then he says, stay at 205 and fight your number 7 ranked guy. And then somebody corrects him and says, oh, it's number 8. Love it.
I honestly don't think Alex Pereira should drop down to 185. If he wants to, great, perfect. But But then we're going to hear the excuses. I saw what, we saw Izzy stiff that man in the first round. I felt Izzy's punching power tonight. If that, Izzy has great timing. He's fast, he's long, and he has great combinations. But I felt the power. If Izzy stiffens you like that, you do not want to be in there with me, especially not when you're going to come in there with the excuses, no, I cut too much weight. That's going to happen. Everybody's going to say that. So stay at 205, fight your fight against the number 7 ranked guy.
Number 8.
Oh, number 8. Okay, cool. Well, fight your fight there.
Yeah, by the way, Alex Pereira versus Khalil Roundtree is an absolute embarrassment. Pereira's being protected from Magomed Ankalaev, who's fighting 2 weeks later. I made an entire video on that. I'm not going to get into it too much. I'll link that video down in the description. But I love that Du Plessis says, yeah, stay at light heavyweight and fight number 7 ranked, number 8 ranked, While I fight the best guys in my division. But then he starts to give me, I'm like, oh no, please no. But then he fixes it immediately afterwards. But let's listen.
And enjoy it. If Strickland's the next fight, the people want to see that fight. That's the fight that people want to see, and that's the fight right now that people think is the next best guy. Then it's the fight that I want. So
By the way, absolutely love that. He's not just saying, oh, I want to fight Strickland because, he might be the biggest name, which he's not even the biggest name. I don't even think he's that popular. It's just a lot of, the right-wing, obsessed kind of grifter crowd that latches on to Sean Strickland, even though he's one of the most boring fighters in the UFC. So they act like he definitely beat Dricus, even though he backed up like a little bitch for almost, 80% of the fight. And, people are saying he won. So Dricus is saying, look, if this is who people think is the next best guy, I will knock him down. He's not just asking for this fight for whatever reason. He's saying, look, if he's number 1 contender, if people think he deserves it, people think he's the best guy, I will go out there and beat him again. But then he started to give me a little bit of pause here for a second.
me handle my business, you handle your business. You don't have to cut the weight so you have some sort of excuse. I'll come up after the Strickland fight. I'll come up to 205 and we'll sort it out there.
So right there, I was like, oh, no. Please, no, not another champion begging to go up for double champ status. But then he clarifies immediately. Absolutely love this. And thank God this media member asked.
So you think just one more title defense and you'll be ready to change divisions?
No, but if that's what the UFC wants, I'll be ready for it right now. But I'm not chasing that. I believe to be considered as the greatest to ever do the sport, I need to be considered as the greatest middleweight first. So, yeah, I'm the first guy to beat Israel Adesanya and Robert Whittaker.
So there he says, look, no, I'm not planning on going up after Sean Strickland, but I will. If the UFC wants it, I'm ready to go right now. But I want to prove that I'm the greatest middleweight of all time by actually fighting contenders. I talked about this with Bilal Muhammad. This is what we need. I'm so sick and tired of clowns winning the belt, defending maybe one time, half the time against an undeserved contender, and then saying, yeah, I want to go up. Look at Sean O'Malley. He defended against a hand-picked Marlon Vera. Now he's fighting Merab, thank God. But he says afterwards, I want to go up and fight Topuria or Holloway. And then I want to go box. Is it not crazy that every big name in the UFC's dream is to one day go box so they can actually make a hefty paycheck? But Dricus says, look, I want to show that I am the greatest middleweight of all time by actually fighting whoever the UFC and the fans deem is the next best guy. And later on, he bodies Sean Strickland just really, really badly, which we're going to get to in a second. But before we get into that, I want to look at this because it all stems from this. Dana White asked about Sean Strickland to get in the next title fight, which he said in multiple places. Here he actually kind of stumbles over it and kind of backtracks a little bit. But he still does say that Sean Strickland is the deserving contender.
Dana, you told Jim Rome that Sean Strickland's getting the next crack at the title. So where does that leave Robert Whittaker versus Khamzat Chimaev?
Well, what I was saying is he's ranked number 1 in the world. He deserves the fight if that happens. But
he deserves the fight if that happens. Now, this is way different than what he was saying. Yeah, Sean Strickland's number 1 contender. He deserves it. He's getting the next title fight. He's kind of a little bit different here, but this is where it all stems from.
You never know what can happen, how these fights could play out. But what I did say on Jim Rome is we got a lot of fun things happening in the middleweight division coming into 25.
So it's basically just timing, who looks the best, stuff like that.
Yeah, Strickland deserves it.
So Strickland deserves it. That's straight from Dana White's lips. Now, Dana White has promised title shot after title shot to different people that ultimately never come to fruition. And honestly, after seeing some of the things that Sean Strickland has been saying online, I think he's going to end up getting passed over depending on what happens in the Whittaker versus Chimaev fight in October, which is definitely going to happen before Du Plessis is close to returning. But Dana White's like, yeah, Sean Strickland deserves it. He squeaked out a split decision against Paulo Costa. Yeah, how could we not give him the title shot? Well, what about Tom Aspinall? He's interim heavyweight champion. Wouldn't you say he deserves it? Or nah, let's give it to a guy who's been, hasn't gotten a win in 4 years. Last fight was 3.5 years ago where he got folded like a lawn chair. And we're going to give him the next title fight instead of the interim champion. So it's just crazy to see the way Dana White will twist himself in the pretzels to say the dumbest shit. Now, ultimately, I think Dana White's just checked out and not paying attention. So he's like, does Sean Strickland number one contender? Yeah, Sean's number one, so sure, Sean's getting it. I think that's basically what Dana White did. And ultimately, I think Sean Strickland will not get the next title shot. We'll see. I'm not ready to die on that hill yet, but I'm just saying right now, the inclination I get is that he's not going to get the next title shot. Now, let's jump back over to Dricus Du Plessis, because in a minute, I'm going to show you one other clip, but in a minute, he just absolutely destroys Sean Strickland so badly that Sean Strickland is so mentally broken, he's online complaining about racist in South Africa. I'm not kidding. I'm not making this up. I'm not exaggerating. I'm not being hyperbolic. That's how bad Dricus has broken Sean Strickland. Took his belt off him 7 months ago. Made him cry like a little bitch on a podcast. I mean, Dricus Du Plessis is on a 2-fight making his opponent cry streaks, okay, at this point. He's exposing people's childhood traumas at this point. But first off, I want to look at this clip about Israel Adesanya, because there's so many weirdos out there acting like Israel Adesanya was never good, and that just ultimately hurts Dricus Du Plessis' legacy and makes this win look less good, you know what I mean? Like, it's just like Leon shitting on Bilal beforehand and acting like Bilal's a bum. Well, if you win, now it's not a good win, and if you lose, what are you then if he's a bum? So Dricus Du Plessis, super smart here in addressing that.
I mean, but the respect I have for him and what he has done in the sport, it can't be denied, because if you don't, you're an idiot. If you can't see what Israel has done in the sport and appreciate that as a warrior, a fellow warrior, you're an idiot. The man has done great things in the sport. So, yeah, I mean, that's it. I mean, it means the world to me that, that sport brings people together, unites people. South Africa, that is our biggest saying. The great father, Nelson Mandela, that was his biggest thing. He says, sport unites people in a way that politics can never, ever, ever do. And that is a fact.
So there Dricus is praising Israel Adesanya because he knows that if you downplay what Israel has done, that diminishes his win over Israel Adesanya, which he had a super impressive win against Israel Adesanya at UFC 305. Now, in the next clip we're going to take a look at is where he really, he bodies Strickland multiple times just so easily. He doesn't even think twice, man. I showed you earlier, destroyed Pereira without even thinking about it. He does the same thing here, talking about Sean Strickland made it to the, I think somebody asked him about, Sean Strickland made it to the judges with you. So some people think he won, do you kind of want that back? And he just kind of goes into a whole spiel about it.
That must be very gratifying. And speaking of, the Sean Strickland fight, right? He's one of the few people who's made it to the judges with you, which as we've seen doesn't happen very often. So is that a partial motivation there is people who think he won that fight and to just silence those people?
No, I don't care about silencing the people. I need to hear the people if they're booing or cheering. I mean, you see tonight, this was the most electric crowd ever. They weren't cheering for me, but it was still amazing to be out there. It was that the crowd was insane. So yeah, going into that Strickland fight now, I know I've been in there with him. He can't handle what I have. He can't handle what I have to offer. So,
which is facts. He backed Strickland up, and then Strickland lost and cried robbery and cried Canadian judges and cried headbutt, and before the fight tried to cancel Dricus Du Plessis for trash talk. He mentally broke him, and he's still mentally broken 7 months later. But it gets even worse.
Yeah, this time I can finish him. We saw it. Yeah, he beat Izzy. Now we have a comparison. That's how you finish someone.
Do you think, I mean, a fight with him, the last two, the build-ups have been, pretty personal, got fairly heated. It seems like you've kind of come out on the winning end of the talk. Are you anticipating going through another fight like that where it could get pretty nasty in the lead-up?
I don't know. I mean, does he want to cry again?
Does he want to cry again? This man cried for a month straight. A month straight. He tried to sucker punch Dricus Du Plessis in a crowd. He tried to cancel Dricus Du Plessis for trash talk. Not only that, he then messaged Dricus Du Plessis, apologized to him, begged him for forgiveness in private DMs that Dricus exposed, okay, because Sean Strickland in public said, yeah, if he does this again, I'm going to kill him. And then Dricus realized, well, now if I don't say anything, people are going to think I'm scared of this or this threat got me to shut up. No, what actually got me to shut up was him begging for forgiveness and begging me to stop prior to the second press conference. Okay? So I think Strickland is completely broken. He looks at Dricus and he immediately just wants to stare at the ground because he can't believe that Dricus bullied him so badly. The biggest bully there is, and Dricus absolutely shut him down with less than 10 seconds of trash talk, which is absolutely insane. But it gets even better because here soon, not in the next clip, I think 2 clips from now, he calls out the fact that Strickland doesn't even deserve the next title shot, which is 100% accurate. But the next clip kind of starts it all off. They talk about basically, how is Strickland going to do in South Africa? Because Dricus absolutely deserves to defend his belt in South Africa next. Will that happen? I don't know. Every time the UFC kind of promises they're going to go to another country, it seems to end up never happening. But Dricus is asked about that.
If you do get your South Africa event, as Dana White said would happen after this, and as Sean, he kind of tweeted out something like, I don't know if it's a good idea to bring me to South Africa. Some of the things he might say, is that maybe a concern around that fight if him come in there?
I actually saw something like that, but I mean, my man, we can see Sean Strickland. South Africa, it's different. It's different. We saw that tonight. I said, it's the jungle out there. Sean Strickland, the way he does things, yeah, I hope he makes it to the fight.
Basically, Strickland's going to get himself embarrassed in South Africa, acting a fool, He likes to go out there and fight aggressively against influencers and talk all types of wild shit, but he's going to get himself in trouble in South Africa. But also, Sean Strickland is saying, I don't know if I can go to South Africa. Because Strickland is desperately ducking a fight in South Africa. Because he'd rather just stay in the States. He's trying to dictate the terms, which we'll take a look at in a minute. Which I would have loved that these tweets would have been out the same time this post-fight presser was going on. So they could have asked Dricus specifically about this. Because Dricus undoubtedly does deserve to defend his belt in South Africa. Next clip I'm going to show you. It's just a part. He's not even really addressing Sean Strickland here. But they're just talking about his confidence and his finishing ability. And I wanted to play this clip because, again, this is exactly who we should want to be champion. And this guy, the way he acts, the way he fights, better yet, and the way he talks is exactly who Sean Strickland wishes that he was. Dricus is Dricus in reality is exactly who Sean Strickland is in his mind. And that he proves it here. And I 100% believe everything Dricus says here.
Knock you out. So every time I'm busy with anything, I'm trying to finish that fight. I'm trying to do it with the intent of hurting or getting you out of there. Isn't that what fighting's all about? So the confidence comes from the fact that I know I'm willing to die to get it. I know it sounds like I'm just saying the same thing all over, but that's where it comes from. I know that I'm willing to go for it. And
Is that not who Sean Strickland pretends to be? To the death and war and, we're going to bleed for you guys. Teep, jab, Dricus actually goes out there and fights like he's fighting to the death, and that's why he's so effective. But there's a little bit more here.
Every time I go there, I'll pull the trigger. I pull the trigger every time I get into the octagon. And my whole career has been like that. And, that's why I'm pretty sure I'm going to win or die trying.
Need I say more? That's exactly who we should want as champion. Because he's willing to go out there and actually fight. Unlike Sean Strickland, who jabs and teeps to a boring, close split decision against Paulo Costa. Now, this last clip I'm going to show you here before we look at Sean Strickland's tweets is him just dismantling the argument that Sean Strickland even deserves a title shot, because it's just simply not true. Sean Strickland does not deserve a title shot for beating Paulo Costa by split decision. He does not deserve a title shot. So Dricus breaks it down here.
You do what the UFC wants. Personally, if you're willing to answer this, who do you think would be more deserving, Sean Strickland or the winner?
Robert Whittaker.
There we go. Thank you for that.
Robert Whittaker deserves the shot. I think he's being done over.
By the way, one thing he doesn't say here is Sean Strickland ducked Robert Whittaker. That was the fight to make. Sean Strickland's like, no, I'm not fighting Whittaker. I want my title shot. I thought this was a guy who didn't care about the belt. But instead, he's sitting on the sidelines looking like this. I want my title shot. Just an absolute disgrace. And it's going to get even worse here in a second when we look at his tweets.
Whittaker beat Costa. The only thing, Robert Whittaker, Sean Strickland's only saving grace here is the fact that he won a decision.
Yep.
With me. That's it.
Basically, Strickland is claiming he deserves a title fight because he lost to Dricus Du Plessis in a close fight. And Dricus accurately points that out. There's no way he deserves it, but, oh, well, he only lost a decision to me where I finished Whittaker.
So, yeah, I mean, Robert Whittaker beat Costa in a more spectacular fashion, I believe, than Strickland did.
Facts. Whittaker beat Paulo Costa way more impressively and way more decisively, even though he did get rocked at the end of the first round.
And then, willing to step up fight Khamzat, he pulls out. Whittaker fights not a nobody in the sense of he's not ranked. He can only lose, and it's a great fighter. Ikram, right?
Ikram. Yeah.
Ikram. He's an amazing fighter. He's really good. Whittaker makes it look like he was fighting an amateur. And what does he get for it? Nothing. Then says, okay, I'll fight Khamzat again. So he beats Khamzat and you're not giving him a title shot. He's pulling on he's getting the short end of the stick, unfortunately. But
Facts. So you're telling me he beat Paulo Costa first and more impressively than Sean Strickland. He then took on a unranked savage in Ikram Aliskerov and brutally chinned him in the first round. And now he's going to fight Khamzat Chimaev, who is supposedly some boogeyman. And if he beats Khamzat, you're going to deny him a title shot? 3 wins, all more impressively than Sean Strickland's 1 win. And you're going to deny him a title shot? I think he's being screwed over. I agree with Dricus. He talks about it a little bit more.
But that's not on me. I'll fight whoever. So Strickland right now, that's the fight that people want to see. So that's what they get. But Whittaker is definitely the one that's being done over in this, in my opinion. He's more deserving, but life's not fair.
Listen, guys. This isn't done yet. This isn't decided yet. This isn't written in stone yet. We need to get more vocal about the winner of Whittaker versus Khamzat getting the next title shot. I know people are like, well, Khamzat, if he wins, if Khamzat blows Whittaker out of the water or clearly decisively beats Whittaker, he deserves the title shot more than Sean Strickland. There's no doubt about that, who's coming off 1 fight win streak against Paulo Costa. Meanwhile, we'll have Khamzat, who's undefeated, beat Kamaru Usman in his last fight. I understand it's on short notice. I think Kamaru Usman's a better win than Paulo Costa, regardless of what kind of notice it's on. And then he will have beat Robert Whittaker. But if Robert Whittaker wins and he's denied a title shot for Sean Strickland, that's an absolute and utter disgrace to the sport. So we need to get more vocal about it. It's not set in stone yet. It won't be set in stone by the time Whittaker fights Khamzat, most likely. So the winner of that fight, everyone needs to get vocal, because what you have is the Sean Strickland incels. They don't have, a life outside the sport. They get behind Sean Strickland because he says edgy things. Oh yeah, Sean's so cool. We don't like his fight style. He's one of the most boring fighters in the world, but we're going to pretend like he's exciting because he says crazy things. Oh, he says homophobic slurs. He called Dricus Du Plessis a homophobic slur. And he jabs and teeps and he says, go into the war and I'm going to bleed for you guys. So let's get behind him. And he panders to kind of like the right-wing grifter portion of the MMA fan base, which is a large portion. And that's why there's a lot of vocal, fans saying Strickland. We need to be the opposing voice to that. because Strickland does not deserve a title shot over Robert Whittaker, nor Khamzat Chimaev, depending on who wins that fight. And the fact that Strickland could get the title shot over Whittaker, who would beat Khamzat and be on a 3-fight win streak, Whittaker would have earned his rematch against Du Plessis and should be able to get that fight. And we need to be vocal about it. And hopefully that it comes to fruition, because nothing's ever set in stone. Dana White said, oh yeah, they deserve it. Sometimes it doesn't happen. A lot of the times it doesn't happen. So we need to be very vocal. Now, the last thing I want to look through is Sean Strickland's tweets. We'll take one last look at him crying here. By the way, if you guys enjoy these videos, do me a favor. Make sure to subscribe to the channel. Turn on notifications. But Sean Strickland put out some tweets, and he's already ducking a South African location for the title fight. He tweeted out first, "Time for war, Dutchman." And, you know, there's some responses here that kind of are important. One is says, "Where do you expect the fight to take place? Any timetable?" He says, "Vegas, man. I always travel. Let me fight in my country. Unless you want me to go fix South Africa, we can go to Africa and fight in front of a bunch of white people, Lamau." So there's not too much there. But then this is where it starts to get like, okay, he clearly doesn't want to go to South Africa. Okay, well, then you're not getting the title fight then. He says, "You don't want me there. I don't either. Highest unemployment rate in the world, the third worst crime rate in the world. It has been ranked as the most unequal place on earth. It's racist, unequal. You have a small, white, wealthy minority and a poor, black majority. Las Vegas, winky face." Look, I'm not going to speak to the accuracy of these statements, but the fact that Sean Strickland is saying, yeah, that country's racist, so therefore I don't want to fight for the title there. Okay, then you don't get it. He already cried, "Oh, the Canadian judges robbed me." But now he's saying, "No, I'm only going to fight in Vegas." You are a contender who won the title with an undeserved title shot after beating an unranked Abus Magomedov, never defended your belt, cried like a little bitch, and then you squeaked out a win over Paulo Costa, and now you think you get to dictate where Dricus Du Plessis defends his belt? What an utter disgrace. And we're going to expose hypocrisy of MMA fans here in a second. But the fact that Sean Strickland is crying, "I'm not going there, they're racist. They have unemployment." Like, what? This dude is terrified to fight Dricus Du Plessis in South Africa. He is terrified because Dricus has already broken him mentally. He's like, "No, I don't want to go to his home turf. I might get booed. I don't want to go to his home turf. They might not love me for my boring fight style. Dricus is everything I wish I was." So he's actively trying to sway. "Look, I just want to fight in Vegas. I've already fought everywhere and anywhere." You know? And someone responded, said, "You scared." He said, "It's just a fucking shithole. Flying across the world to go to the most racist, violent place on earth. That is not a lie. This is factual." So it's just a complete embarrassment, man. It's a complete embarrassment. He so desperately does not want to go to South Africa. He's making every excuse in the book because he doesn't want to give Dricus that advantage of fighting in his hometown. Now, the last tweet I want to look at from Sean Strickland is, "We will be fighting in the land of the free. You're not ducking me, Dutchman. I know you're going to try. It's not happening. Dana White, quote, you're next in line. We're bringing the belt. We're bringing it back to America, and the belt is staying in America." I think he probably was saying, "You're not fucking me," you know, because that's what Sean Strickland fantasizes about. All he does is talk about dicks and balls. You know, he sees Dricus kiss his coach on the lips and he gets aroused by it because he's in the closet. But that's besides the point. This fight will be happening in the land of the free. It sounds like, you know what I would consider some of this? You know, going back through some of this, I would consider this demands, right? I would say he's probably demanding to fight in America. So we have a contender who's already undeserving, demanding the stipulations of a title shot. He thinks he gets to dictate where Dricus defends his belt. That is a complete and utter disgrace. Go cry about it on a podcast. But you know what I found particularly funny about this? He is demanding a fight in a location. So that must mean he's not deserving of that title fight, right? Because that's what people said about Magomed Ankalaev. Magomed Ankalaev demanded Abu Dhabi. Forget his 11-fight unbeaten streak. Forget that he's ranked number 2 in the world. Forget that there's no other deserving contender. Forget that he almost won the belt and kind of got robbed on the judges' scorecards with a draw. Forget about all that. He demanded Abu Dhabi. He's not getting a shot against Pereira. Let's do Pereira versus Roundtree. This is Magomed Ankalaev demanding Abu Dhabi. Abu Dhabi, Saudi Arabia, New York, Vegas, doesn't matter. Anytime by KO. Be ready, Alex. This is the myth. Magomed Ankalaev demanded Abu Dhabi. They make up false narratives because they do not like fighters from the Caucasus region. They push these narratives. A lot of people never even look into them. They just see what people are saying online and they're, oh, this must be true. This is Magomed Ankalaev demanding Abu Dhabi. That's a demand. This is a demand right here. I don't see it. I don't see it. That's not a demand to me. New York, Vegas doesn't matter anywhere, anytime by KO. Compare and contrast that with, we will be fighting in the land of the free. You're not ducking me, Dutchman. I know you're going to try. It's not happening. We're bringing it back to America, and the belt is staying in America. You know, Las Vegas. And then, you know, I'm not flying across the globe, blah, 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 so on and so forth. Yeah, this has just exposed a massive hypocrisy. If the MMA community had any morals and they had any consistency, if we're having contenders, especially undeserving contenders, Magomed's not an undeserving contender, Strickland is, demanding to dictate the location of their title shot, then it sounds like they need to be skipped over. So it looks like the winner of Robert Whittaker versus Khamzat Chimaev should be next in line for the middleweight title shot. And honestly, Nasruddin Imavov beats Brendan Allen. I think he's more deserving as well. So book Nasruddin Imavov versus Dricus Du Plessis in South Africa. I almost said South America there. I think he's more deserving than Sean Strickland anyway. So I think ultimately Sean Strickland's going to talk himself out of a title shot. And what he's going to end up doing is crying like a little bitch when another title fight gets booked in South Africa for Dricus Du Plessis' second title defense. Let me know what you guys think about all this down in the comments. I think Dricus had a picture-perfect post-fight press conference where everything he said was well thought out and calculated, and he didn't even break a sweat. Let me know what you guys think. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and thank you so much for watching.